I play a lot of games every year, hundreds in most cases. And this year, in 2024, was no different. However, I have gotten together a list of my top 10 games, my top 10 games of 2024, and I hope you enjoy this video as we go over them top to bottom, not only going over what they are, but also in many cases why I put them there and why they're special to me. So on that note, I hope you enjoy the show. My 10th game of the year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This game was solid all around. It was a great contender. It was a fun story. A couple parts of it made me cry like a baby. And funny enough, this game was one of the few, every so often, I finish a game and it does something to my brain, and this was one of them. Damn, dude. Wow. Wow. Some of the ways that this game deals with the big question in the game, especially towards the end of it, had me like hugging my kids harder. Like it's that kind of thing. Like some of the stuff this game deals with transcends gaming, like right into what it means to be a human and dealing with our condition. So, and that was really heavy. Like, so I absolutely loved it. Great game. 9th game for me. And you're gonna see a few of these games on my list. And these are games that have been out for years, but they like got their big release this year. 9th for me, Cohh Keeper. I've returned to Cohh Keeper many times. It had its big 1.0 release. The game is awesome. It's basically a top-down Terraria. The company that makes it, Pugstorm, is 10 of 10. They have, by the way, they're the ones that are making this new Noita Terraria game that looks incredibly cool. So yeah, Cohh Keeper, amazing game. I still need to go back and finish that game. But super cool, love my time in it. 8, Eve's Ass. We are currently playing Stellar Blade. It's a great game so far.
I knew it would make the list.
Wait, really? Wow.
This game surprised the hell out of me.
I didn't know you liked it that much.
I not only liked it, I played it like starting it kind of was like, let's check it out. And I finished that game.
For podcast listeners, we're talking about Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade, not Eve's Ass. Well, I mean, both kind of.
Cohh
but
didn't play with Eve's Ass.
Is the light reflecting off that butt RTX, or is that baked in? That's a great question. This is actually full refracted lighting.
Stellar Blade is actually an awesome game. It's actually an awesome game. And the way that I really realized that is, at first I thought they were just using the sex to oversell a lackluster game. Let's be real, that happens a lot in the gaming industry. So when I saw this like clearly hypersexualized character, I was like, oh cool, they're doing this to attract players in because they didn't spend a lot of time on the game itself. Turns out that couldn't have been more wrong. Stellar Blade is a phenomenally cool action game. It's got like a very fun story, a very cool post-apocalyptic world. There's fun side characters. There's like great progression systems, some very cool boss fights. Stellar Blade is a great game. And one of the ways that I realized that is when I kind of was playing like at around hour 10, and I was like, you know what? I don't even need the sexy for this game to be awesome. I could be playing some grizzled mid-50s dude that's overweight, and I'd be having just as good of a time. Sure, the sexy's great, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't need it.
I can't wait for that mod.
It's just a really solid game. But anyway, that's what's my Stellar Blade experience. I started it almost like as we'll see how good this is. And I ended it going, that was really good. My 7 was Democracy! Because damn if that game didn't do a great job of fostering this whole meme atmosphere around it. That might be a little close to you guys, and if it is, it's been a pleasure serving with you. That was...
Ow. It's saluting.
Like, the game was fun. It was just stupid laughs. People blowing each other up. Like, it was literally a phenomenon. And I still think that Sony extinguished the flame of Helldivers 2. It could be a roaring inferno these days. But, like, they literally... Like, that roller coaster was going up, and Sony just pulled the power to the whole ride. I still feel bad about that. And which speaks a lot to the fact that, like, even with all that Sony did to this, they're still relatively popular and still chugging along. Like, it's kind of a Cyberpunk situation where it's like, yeah, they have success now, but what kind of success could they have had if they had done it properly? That's kind of what Helldivers 2 is. But it's still a fun game. It's still a fun game, and I just played it a couple weeks ago, still going strong, and it's a great game. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 is a love letter to Space Marine fans. There are not a huge amount of times when you can tell that a company, it literally bleeds passion for the IP that they're making. That is Space Marine 2. Saber did such an incredible job of making every minute in that game feel like you are there. Be it the iconic scenes, the music, the sound effects, even the voice acting and dialogue. Oh, dude, what is this?
Foul Xenos invaded in wave upon wave of claws and mandibles.
Damn! That turned out pretty good. Chat, that was me.
It's Warhammer 40K to its core, and they absolutely nailed it. Number 5, my boy Ichiban. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth had a phenomenal time in that game. Everything that RGG puts down, I pick up. I can't wait for Yakuza. It was a phenomenal, like I did a ton of side content in Like a Dragon and finished the main story. I don't think I ever went back to finish some of the side stuff. That's a little thing in my back pocket for later, because every second you spend in a Yakuza game is fun and entertaining, regardless if you're in it or not. As long as you're not doing like a big main story thing. But I loved it. It was a fantastic game, and I can't wait for more. Can't wait for more. Satisfactory. Satisfactory is freaking awesome. And I absolutely love it. The Satisfactory came to me at a point in my life that was very important. I needed something I could get lost in, because there were a lot of things going on in my life that frankly I had no will or energy to deal with at the time. And that was the multiple back-to-back deaths of pets and like all sorts of things. It was really rough. So I actually called it Satis Therapy for a long time, because I would just sit down and just recover.
It is a game that has been in early access for a long time. This is a game that had an early access period, fully utilized it by devs that were listening, that were constantly adjusting their game based on their community feedback. Like some game devs just completely squander or use EA for PR stuff. These guys used EA like Larian Studios. These guys were like, let's do an EA and let's use it to make the absolute best game possible. So yeah, Satisfactory, phenomenal game. Absolutely love it. As we enter the top 3, my third top game of 2024, V Rising. V Rising is such a great game. I am currently playing it offline with my kids. I did a almost full run up to the very last boss.
Did you finish the final boss?
I never beat the final boss. And you know why? Because I like having an excuse to go back to that game whenever I want. I also like the fact that if I don't beat the end boss, that I have a reason to do the playthrough again some point down the road. Like maybe if enough upgrades happen, or maybe there's an expansion or something. Like I have a reason to go back and beat that game. And it'll be a big iconic event for me in my personal life when I do. It's going to be fun. But no, I love V Rising. It hit 1.0 this year. In terms of survival games, I don't think there is much that is arguably better for that type of game. Like it does so many amazing things in terms of QOL, mechanical development, progression. Like it is a perfect example of a great survival game. So much fun. Indiana Jones, that game, man, I went in with high expectations and it still met or surpassed all of them.
You played that like last week, right?
A few weeks ago.
Yeah, like it was very, very recent.
And I had people telling me before, oh, this is Game of the Year quality. So I went in being like, yeah, sure, Game of the Year, okay, I'm Indiana Jones, you just love him. Whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's no way this is actually like, but no, sure enough, man. I mean, the game Indiana Jones is not only graphically beautiful, the performances and dialogue and writing are phenomenal. It is the soul of Indiana Jones, from the humor to the way they talk to each other, to the way that the enemies and the bad guys are. The story is actually really good. I had multiple jaw drop moments throughout Indiana Jones. That was completely unexpected. And yeah, the combat was fun and engaging. Like I ended up at the beginning, like the fist fighting felt really clunky. And then by the end of the game, I was like looking for opportunities to punch people in the face.
Yeah, I tuned in and you were fucking doing this.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh hell yeah, man.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, you learn karate is what you learn later in the game. So it was very, very cool. And overall, just the thing about Indiana Jones that is so awesome is everything is good about Indiana Jones. There's not a part of it that is like less than the other parts. The whole experience is immersive and awesome. They took a risk doing the kind of semi-open world sandbox thing. Totally works. The side quests are so good, I don't call them side quests. They're optional main quests. They're not side quests. And that's because every side quest feels like it's as important as the main quest. You meet entire new characters. You learn crazy new things about areas that you've never been in. Sometimes like main story stuff you learn in the side quests. The puzzles were actually really good too. which was very interesting. I thought that was kind of fun. And apparently the different difficulty levels change how the puzzles are, which is really cool. So yeah. My game of the year is Stalker 2. My game of 2024 is Stalker 2. And the crazy thing about this is you would have to ask yourself, how in the hell did a game come out that is arguably missing one of its core features and is very buggy, and I had bugs? How is that my game of the year? And the reason being is because I realized that's a game that was buggy, missing one of its core features, and still was my favorite playthrough of the year. That's why it deserves to be on the top of that list. If it did have that A-Life feature, it would have been so far beyond the other stuff. But for those who don't know, by the way, A-Life is a very iconic system in previous Stalker games that would essentially run the whole world for you if you were there or not. So if you were in the bottom left of a giant zone, A-Life would run all the other enemies in the zone, even if you weren't there. And that way, if you stumble upon them, there were all these organic, interesting things. Unfortunately, they couldn't jam that system into Stalker 2. They had to do some weird stopgap stuff that didn't really work as well. They're working on putting it back in, and that definitely caused some problems. But even with that not working, and even with the bugs and issues, I spent more quality hours in Stalker 2 than any other game. Anytime I would come up onto a new area or an empty building, I instantly knew there was probably something interesting in there for me to see. There was probably some loot in there for me to get. Every character I met, I knew was going to be an interesting encounter. So much side content that gave so many palpably important and awesome rewards. Just side stuff everywhere to reward you for. Like, Stalker 2 is one of the more, in terms of mechanically, one of the better sandbox games I've ever played. And then you tie in all the immersive elements on top of it, and it's just, there's really nothing else like it. When this game gets A-Life installed and all the bugs worked out, it is going to have a Cyberpunk 2.0 style renaissance, where it's going to, like, there's going to be enough different new things in it to where it's going to be one of those games that I think is going to be completely iconic. And then on top of this, the reason, again, the big reason it got into the top of my list, I had expectations coming into Stalker 2, but the dialogue, the characters, the main story, like how far they went with it, was on a level that I didn't even know was possible. Like, I was expecting a quarter of what I got on a good day.
Holy fucking cow. Will you let me eat in peace for once?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Nepohani fairwerk, huh?
Going from what I enjoyed from the previous Stalker games, they weren't really into that stuff. They didn't really do cutscenes and narrative. Like, sure, there was a little, but it wasn't the focus by any means. But in 2, they somehow delivered the sandbox experience on top of like a near double to AAA style main story. Blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. So I can't say enough good words about the game right behind it. Like, Stalker 2 for me was a pretty clear game of the year. Great game. Anyway,
Fantastic.
that's my top 10. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 list for 2024. If you are new to the channel, this is my alt channel, more Cohh or /Cohh. If you do subscribe, we're getting very close to 100K, so a big thanks to all that do. If you enjoyed this type of content, which is very different from my main channel, /Cohh Carnage, well, the best way you can support it is by just keeping all that engagement up. So big thank you to those who have been watching this, commenting, and all the fun things that you do here over on YouTube. So thank you for it. And here's to many more videos in 2025. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, and as a quick note before I go, a lot of this was taken from my weekly show Drop Frames. If you'd like to see the entire episode, you can click right there and check it out.